You said it exactly right. That never happened. The truck and the zipper. We had just pounded at least a gallon of beer at the show in some shitty dive in downtown Austin. There are many such bars, and Austin has played in all of them. As the lead guitarist and centerpiece of his Red Dirt country band, he showboats hard, knee bent over the front monitor, offering down his guitar for the little blonde boot heels to caress as they fawn over his long hair and sweaty beard. After the show, he drinks with as much fervor as he plays. About time to go, we threw back another whiskey shot before making the short trip back to Buddy's place to smoke a few bowls and sober up. Shit-faced, kept his keys in his pocket and rode shotgun with his bros. But I didn't want to leave my truck at the dive. Too many wackos out there willing to break a window to steal a roll of quarters from your console. I followed the boys back to his apartment 5 minutes away, parked in the lot, and went inside for a few hours. The shit in Buddy smoke is so strong you can smell it through a coffee can. Hydroponic White Widow and Purple Kush, long, dark, swollen forest green buds dripping sticky orange pollen. I mean, this shit could put Bob Marley to sleep. I wonder now how on earth I made it out of that apartment that night after partaking of such potent herb, and I can offer only one explanation. I didn't. If I had smoked, this story would stop right here. This must have been one of those rare interludes in which I was toying with the prospect of quitting. After all, I still remember what time I left. For a pothead, that's a goddamn superpower. And passed out on the couch, true to form, and repaired to his single bedroom. I found myself face up on the carpet, staring at the ceiling and wondering if I decided to close my eyes, whether my lower back would forgive me for crashing on the floor. I checked my watch, 3:30. I decided no, it was time to bounce. I dragged myself up from the floor, still a little woozy, and took one last piss in the bathroom. I didn't realize that I had forgotten to zip my fly, a tiny mistake that would later alter the course of my life. I tested my ability to walk a straight line on the way to my truck, unconcerned with whether my cows were coming out. I'd passed 2 field sobriety tests back in college, but that didn't mean I wouldn't fail this time if I got pulled over. There's no way around the blow stick in Austin. If you decline it, pleading the fifth, they force you to give blood. Still, for some reason, I decided there was more wisdom in chancing a DWI than sleeping on the carpet. Probably because I was still drunk. As I pulled out of the parking lot and onto the road, I saw a woman across the street, flailing her arms as though she were in immediate danger. She was wearing a close-fitting, sleeveless dress, zebra print, hemmed at mid-thigh, and her legs were bare and bright above knee-high black boots. Naturally, I wanted to help this girl. With my damsel in distress instinct at full throttle, I pulled over and rolled down the passenger side window, sure that the door would serve as a protective barrier if she acted untoward. Problem was, I had forgotten to lock it. In 5 seconds, she was in the passenger seat, sitting beside my profound apprehension, my naivete, and simple, wide-eyed me. In a breathy voice, this was the first word out of her mouth: drive. Thinking I'd crossed an interdimensional plane into a universe of action movie plots, I was unsure of the proper line and floundered for a cliché. Hello there. What seems to be the problem? Through her dress, I could see erect nipples and no panty line, and I thought perhaps if I saved her from duress, she'd marry me and we'd have 3 kids and a dog and a cat and a house and a great story to tell of how we met. At least I hoped. I mean, she was smoking. Hurry, she breathed, fearing a danger clear and present. Just drive. With my desire to be in her good graces stronger than my trepidation, I took my foot off the brake and acquiesced. All right, where are we headed? Doesn't matter, just go. She checked the side mirror for pursuers. I told her I was heading back to my house on the other side of town, intending to dissuade her of coming with me and planning to get her number. But she took it as an invitation. Sure, that sounds great. My eyes widened further. This was one fast chick. No, I am not taking you back to my house. Her face withered in disappointment. Just take me back to 6th Street, then. I asked for her name, but she said I didn't need to know and asked me for mine instead. I'm a conservative when it comes to polite conversation and the rules of introduction, and I didn't appreciate this strange woman trying to horn me to ground. So I stepped on the brakes and pulled over, ready to kick her out, my trust broken and my curiosity fastly waning. Her eyes veered back to the side mirror. Don't, please. My name's Jenny, okay? Impressed by efficacy of my methods, but still perplexed as to why she was in such a goddamn hurry, I told her thanks, gave her my name, pressed the accelerator, and continued on. So what's the deal? Is someone after you? She told me something like she was running from a boy who pulled a knife on her and drove her out of the house. Didn't sound like complete horse shit, but just then, those ominous red and blues began to flash in my rear view. I swore, my eyes glued to the mirror. Fuck. It's fine, just keep going. I turned to with a look that said, you must be out of your mind. What, you mean like just run from the cops? Yeah, don't stop. The officer hit the siren. Pull over. His voice boomed over the hollow loudspeaker. I was fucking terrified. Girl, you're nuts. She rolled her eyes and with a huff, threw her shoulders against the back of the seat. Fine, do what you have to. I'm gonna stop, but look, you shouldn't have gotten in with me. I've been drinking all night and I am still a little drunk. You got somebody to call if I get arrested? She narrowed her eyes and leered at me. What do I look like to you? I shrugged, unsure of her implications, and crunched into a gravel parking lot, hoping for the best. Austin cops never arrest someone without a backup, and I was watching hard. Through the cold, rising dusk, ironically illuminated in the just colors of the Texas flag, a second cruiser pulled up behind the first, and I knew I was fucked. Heart racing, I feared the disappointment of my father when I called him to bail me out of the famous Austin City Jail, an educational institution whose lessons cost as much as a community college degree, and I dreaded graduation. I had no use for an associate's in inebriate motorism, more commonly referred to as a charge of driving while intoxicated. For many years, I had mocked the members of the D-Dub Club, former high school acquaintances who couldn't keep it together the way I had. Never again. Maybe I'd keep Dad out of the loop on this one. I'd call into work to claim some vacation time, spend a few nights in the slammer, call it research, and spill the beans over his gravestone. It didn't take long for cop number one to leap out of his squad car, hand on his sidearm, torched, aimed with menace, and demand that I get out of my vehicle. As I climbed out, a blast of hypothermic desert air snaked between my naked knees. I was in a pair of dorky cargo shorts and a t-shirt in late March. The wind couldn't have been above 55 degrees, not deathly, but chilly enough to sap the strength from my confidence as I faced this cop, fully strapped. He shined his flashlight in my face and asked me the strangest question I'd ever heard from a police officer. Sir, have you ever been arrested for picking up a prostitute? Confused and disturbed, and a little tickled, to be honest, though I was careful to conceal it, I assured him that of course I hadn't, and I wondered how this line of questioning would arrive at my inevitable field sobriety test. Sir, did you pick up the woman sitting in your truck tonight? I couldn't say no. I'm either too smart or too big of a pussy to lie to the cops. Let's go with too smart. Sir, did you pick up the woman sitting in your truck for sex? Appalled, I emphatically assured him absolutely not. I figured more emphasis would prove my innocence, but as we've learned from popular movie culture, excessive gusto is the first mistake of guilty villains. As I was shaking my head, the officer's light drifted down to my crotch, where the metal lips of my zipper were widely spread. Then why is your fly open, sir? What? I followed his light and zipped up immediately, mortified. Nothing could have made it seem more like I'd accepted a quick handy or a speedy beach. And I pleaded with the cop that it wasn't what it seemed. I never remember to zip my fly, officer. I'm sorry. I'm working on it, I swear. It's one of my many character flaws. As if the gap in my shorts were the crime. Taking pity on my stupid, shivering ass, the cop gave me an easy ultimatum, probably because I'm white. Okay, look, if you didn't pick her up for sex, tell her to get out of your truck. Thinking only about the infamous death of chivalry, not even considering that perhaps Jeannie had lied to me about her knife-wielding assailant, I pointed down the street and said the stupidest thing I could think of. Isn't that a little cold, officer? I mean, she said she was in danger back there. The cop stiffened. Sir, let me put it this way. Ask her to get out of your truck or you're going to jail. So I told the girl to get out of my truck. Things began to clear up after that. Jenny, the prostitute, threw open the door with a huff and bitched and moaned and marched off shouting, unfucking believable, ignoring the cops of cop number 2 to stop, ma'am, stop. Cop number 1 handed me back my license and explained that a resident of the apartment complex across the street from his place had reported seeing Jenny, or whoever she was, soliciting men for sex. The witness also saw her climb into my truck and described it to the police with uncanny accuracy. A gray Ford Ranger. I thanked the cop for the information, his patience, and his understanding, and I apologized for causing the confusion. With that, he let me go, turning his attention to the prostitute, who was seated on the hood of cop number 2's squad car, her hands cuffed behind her back. Grateful to Bacchus and Eros for watching over me, I got in my truck and split. No field sobriety test in sight. If chivalry isn't dead already, you would think I'd be the one to pop it between the eyes and put it out of its misery. But I refuse to let a single run-in with a hard-working lady of the night to lay waste to the last bastion of male philanthropy. Call me old-fashioned, but I believe our society depends on acts of benevolence to survive. I find no harm in holding the door for another, and even in some cases, stopping to see if someone needs help. However, once you're past the age of Ninja Turtles and Disney princesses, I advise you to dole out good deeds with a healthy dose of cynicism. These days, I lock both doors every time I get into my truck, and every time I take a piss, I check my goddamn zipper.